as someone who's been studying the whole river, the implicate order, for many, many years, I think I can think of no one better qualified to perhaps give us some suggestions about how we can be upstream a little more often than we are downstream.
Yes, well, here you have to say that going upstream means toward creativity and away from the mechanical repetitiveness, and therefore it would not be appropriate to give a mechanical prescription to get upstream, because it's a constantly dynamic changing stream, and it will never be the same, not only in time for yourself but for other people. I can say make a kind of map of what I've seen, but then it may be a bit different from yours. I mean, you'll get an idea, you see, but it's not an exact set of prescriptions. Now, see, I think it depends, first of all, on seeing the value of doing this. You see, nobody will do it unless they can see it's important, right? But if you do see the value of it, then one point is, see, some of the negative features that stop you. For example, the attitude of rewards and punishments will stop you because you're not interested in the creative act itself. You only want whatever the reward is, which has nothing to do with the act. It will tend to take you off, right? So therefore, you have to be interested in it for its own sake, right? And then you have to look into the things that are keeping you out of it, such as the repetitive patterns of thought and so on, to become aware of your assumptions. See, a great many discoveries in science or so on were made possible by people getting free of certain assumptions that are commonly held. And you have to be sensitive to them, and it's hard to give a prescription for that. But I say one feature which Krishnamurti emphasized very much, and I think is really crucial, is attention. But attention not only to what's outside, but to what's inside, to the factors that are getting in the way, you know. The kind of feeling inside of being stuck on certain ideas, you know, the sense of security and insecurity, that moving into a new area will make you feel insecure perhaps, and staying in the old area may make you feel secure, but this may be an illusion, right? Now, you have to pay attention to that, you see, and I think attention is a very subtle thing that I could compare it to sort of scanning that, see, it's been shown that the eye scans objects. You may, picking them up. It may be thought that somehow whatever is inside the brain, thought, feeling, perception, sense perception, it's being scanned from a higher and more subtle level to bring it to a whole, right? We could call that attention, going to more and more subtle levels, leading you into the stream. And it depends on the quality of attention, you see. And this attention will bring you to far into the stream, which is the source of creativity. This notion has been more common in Eastern philosophy than in the West, you see, of saying there's meditation. There's, for example, I've been told that in ancient India, an artist would spend several days getting into the right frame of mind by meditating before he would attempt to start doing anything. And I think this is there's something in that.
And it's interesting because I think in our society, and I think this permeates the West, that if we're going to be creative, we go to a seminar, in the sense that what happens is that the scientific formula, the mathematical formula, has also penetrated the process of how we think creativity happens, so that we can learn a formula about the way it works, or the way to do something is a certain way. And you're suggesting that the first insight you gave in response to my query about how we get upstream was the one that said there is no mechanical answer to that, because it'll be different for everyone. That's kind of recognizing that paradox, as it were, and being willing to hang out with it, that allows us to be in the creative space.
Yes, you see, the principal barrier to creativity is the mechanical process, which has its use, but it becomes part of us. Instead of just being used by us, it comes to dominate us and our whole psyche. And we have to be aware of this mechanicalness that we're stuck in.
So this is what Krishnamurti meant with that thinking is the problem.
Yes, thinking tends to become mechanical. There's a kind of thinking that is not, but when it comes from the source, you see, when it's being used by the source, right? But when we just churn over old thoughts and patterns and formulae and so on, it may tend to become mechanical. And it will handle a certain range of problems and so on, but it is not really creative.
One of the things that was in the last few pages of the book that you wrote with David Pete was emphasizing the importance of dialogue. And if I can paraphrase a moment, dialogue can loosen the collective socio-cultural rigidity that holds all of us in its grip. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think we are held rigidly by means of thoughts and assumptions that are circulating around that we are not conscious of, right? For example, if there's prejudice against people of a certain race, very often a child would pick that up, you see, without even being told, just by the way people behave, right? Saying that all people of that race are no good or something wrong with them. And then if he sees one, he'll see through that, right? He's being held rigidly. The same sort of prejudice, the same sort of prejudgments, say, to the root of prejudice would arise in all sorts of ideas about science and about art and about everything, right? Politics. And these ideas circulate tacitly, right? Subliminally. And you don't know you've got them, you see. Now, I think if we have a dialogue, the point of a dialogue is not just an exchange or just a trade-off, negotiate points, but rather the attitude is important, the spirit, to say that we are going to look at assumptions, our own as well as other people, and suspend them and examine them. That's often very hard to see. If you've got a prejudice, you find there's a tremendous resistance to examining such assumptions. But if we take it seriously enough, then our assumptions will be revealed often by somebody else who can see them, and vice versa. So every time you see a mistake of that kind, whether it's yours or somebody else's, everybody gains, right? It's not a case of somebody winning and somebody losing. You see, the point of a dialogue is not to get your point across or to win, but rather that we are exploring these assumptions, and we all gain, and we all by seeing them and being free of them. And that requires a certain kind of, that will develop a kind of spirit of fellowship and eventually friendship and so on. And if people will sustain this kind of dialogue, I think that the whole state of mind and the culture can alter. But we don't have that now, of course, very much.
Well, I think this dialogue has been an example of what you've just been, the kind of dialogue you've just been talking about, because surely it resonates with me as your fellow dialoguer here, and I'm sure it will resonate with listeners to what we've been dialoguing about, and go out and create more waves that go on infinitely. David, I want to thank you for joining us today.
Well, I enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
I've been speaking with David Bohm, scientist, physicist, author of Wholeness and Intricate Order, and co-author with David Pete of a book entitled Science, Order and Creativity.
So I think now we kind of just want to make a circle, and Pauline, if